listening to another episode of Sex and Happiness, a show about your sex and your happiness. Today you have the option to listen or watch. And I've been doing that lately because we're in this crazy coronavirus time. So watching sometimes is a better option for people. Maybe they're tired of Netflix, so they want to watch Sex and Happiness. Yay. Anyway, today we're going to be talking about making love with life. And this is a super important subject near and dear to me. And this is one of my best friends. So I'd like to introduce you to Crystal Dawn Morris. And Crystal Dawn is, we are co-teachers. We are colleagues. We teach together a lot. We're super close. And let me tell you a little bit about her background. She started a school called Tantra Versity, and she is also a lead faculty member of ISTA, International School of Temple Arts. And she's going to tell us a little more about this, but this is a factoid about her, which is that she was a midwife, and she has delivered over 2,500 baby human beings onto this planet. And so we're going to hear a little bit about her background, how she got to be who she is. And then we're going to find out about how you make love with life. So Crystal Dawn, welcome to Sex and Happiness.
Thank you, Laurie. It's lovely to be here. And this is the first time we're doing it on Zoom, so it's cool.
That's right. We did a long time ago when we hardly knew each other.
Yeah. So this is, I mean, we've had a few interviews, but I think they've always been just over audio.
Yeah.
So it's nice to be able to see your face while we're having have this. And well, I'm happy to be on Sex and Happiness. And I feel like right now, one of the things that this coronavirus kind of being, sheltering in place is forcing us to maybe face up to our own discomforts about what it means not to be distracted as much in the world. And I think that a lot about what you and I both, teach people about and are inspired by and have, worked in our own lives to cultivate is how to be like making love with life. And I know you teach Ladihan, and which is talking about making love with the unknown, so it's kind of like just two sides of the same coin. Light, the dark, no difference. Emptiness, form, no difference. And that's a good, I think you and I are good mirrors for each other. That's why we love to teach together.
Exactly. We have a lot of fun. We really do. We've been in many, many parts of the world together. And whenever we're together, it's an adventure. Whatever we're doing, it's an adventure. So
it is. And and I so appreciate having a sister like you on the path, and and being able to watch each other's journeys. And I think we first met, it was like in 2008 when I first met you, but I knew about you before that. I knew about you through YouTube, I think.
That's great. Thank you. Little plug for YouTube, Laurie Handler's channel.
Yeah.
Anyway, let's go. Let's talk a little bit about how. So you started as a midwife, but you had a start before that I have prior knowledge about. How did you get on this path?
Well, so I wanted to just start out by saying that one of the things that I'm going to be talking about today is how I can help you to open your heart so you can make love with life. So that's really the intention of what making love with life is. It's about really how do we open our hearts, and not just like the physical heart or our energetic heart, but really the heart of our true nature.
Good.
So that's really what we're going to talk about. And I was going to just share a little bit about the heart before I go into that story.
Good.
And that is that the heart is the electrical field of the heart is 1,000 times stronger than the brain. And the magnetic field of our heart is 5,000 times more powerful than our brain. So that part of this learning how to connect at our heart level, which I know you teach as well, that's why it's more important really than connecting to our minds. Even though the minds are an erogenous zone, if we aren't really dropped into our heart, we're not going to be able to make that really deep, more powerful electromagnetic connection that creates the juice that I know you and I both love.
Can I just say to you here, I bet you know this, but what I learned at one of these moments about ancient Egypt is when they put the bodies, the sarcophagus, into those pyramids and stuff, they took out the brain and they threw it out, but they thought that their kings and queens were going to be reincarnated or be reborn in the same body, and they left the heart in a special chalice or a special kind of container, because the heart was seen to be the more important organ.
Exactly.
So what you're saying like confirms, I didn't know that about the frequencies, but that confirms why the Egyptians were so smart.
Yes. So because actually the brain is really helpful in navigating ordinary reality, but it's not so in non-ordinary reality, which is where the Egyptians, you know, when they die, they're connecting with the greater reality. So that's part of this journey of making love with life. And so how I kind of got initiated into this was when I was 16. Took some psychedelics, which was not an unusual thing. I did that, you know, a couple times a month.
Right.
Particular time, I had these click sticks from Brazil, and I sat in front of a fire for like 8 hours with these click sticks doing this, what I later found out is called shamanic driving. So I put myself into an even more altered state, not just through the drugs, but through these click sticks.
What is a click stick? I don't know what that is.
It's like they're the mahogany click sticks. They click together, kind of like they use like a drum in the jungle because it's too wet to use drums. So they have these click sticks. So they create a sound that puts you into a trance state, changes the brainwaves. And then that morning when the sun came up, I went outside and I had this amazing experience as I was walking a few blocks. I was in the San Fernando Valley of LA, and I walked about, 6 blocks to the local park, Reseda Park, and people from LA. And but on this walk, I felt like, oh my God, I was so connected with everything. There was no separation between me and everything that I saw. And went to the park and had an amazing experience, just looking at the ducks in the pond and everything, and came home, went to bed, woke up several hours later, and I was still having this experience. And this experience went on every day for 7 days. And I kept going to weirder, like I'd go to ugly places and, different places that wouldn't necessarily feel it's like beautiful. And I would still feel the same amount of connection in it. And there was like this big heart space, which was kind of very blissful. So that went on for 7 days. And then the 8th morning, about the 4th day, I thought, oh, this is my life. I'm just going to be in bliss for the rest of my life. But on the 8th morning, I woke up and I was back in just ordinary reality. So that really kind of, initially that was like a little shocking to me.
I know, what a bummer.
Yeah, I was like, how did that happen? Because on some level, I still knew it was there, but I wasn't feeling it. And I was like, how could this happen? And then I was confused, like, what am I supposed to do now? Like, why would I have that experience and then it'd be taken away? And so the message, I prayed about that, and the message I got was go find a man and have children. So that's how I ended up heading off to a commune and meeting the man who started the commune. And we eventually got together and had a child. And then eventually we got married and had a journey together for about 16 years. We had a second son. And that's how I got on the midwife path, because through my pregnancy and birth and, early mothering experiences, I just felt, for me, that showed me that I was the divine, being pregnant and, bringing forth life. I'm like, oh my God, I'm the divine. I mean, it was just on WhatsApp. I just found out that someone else in the ISTA tribe just had her baby.
Yeah, Abhishek.
So I was just like feeling that energy right before I got on this call. I was like, oh my God, Abhishek had her baby. And she's also really into women's health and teaching women about being the goddess. So for me, that helped me start to recognize, like, oh, it's not that, because I was raised Protestant, and so, God was always very masculine, right? Even Jesus is a man. Even though I thought Jesus was about love, it was always about men. And suddenly I was like, wait a minute, I'm the divine too. And so then becoming a midwife, I was saying this yesterday on a group I was on studying a tantra book together in a book club. I was saying I worshipped at the altar of the yoni for 25 years, catching babies. And there's nothing more sacred than watching new life be born and recognizing each child is the divine child. And so that means everybody out there who's hearing this or seeing this is the divine. And to me, that's what Tantra is. It's about waking up to recognize the divine in you. Is not separate from everything around you.
Plus, there's some ridiculous number of the odds against being impregnated like like it's 4 billion to 1 that any of us would exist, that that egg would be fertilized by that sperm, and you would be you and I would be me. And like it's even though it seems like, oh my God, somebody just got pregnant or whatever, it's really, the odds are against it. It's really against it. So it is divine. It is a miracle that any of us exist and that we know each other.
And that the planet exists, you know, the universe exists. I mean, and so part of this idea of the making love with life is the recognition that we're divine, and that's a big part of what Tantra is about, is like recognizing what does it mean to be the I am. The I am is not just about me, the person, or me, the mind, or me, the body, but it's something even bigger. And that's why I'm saying we really feel that connection through the heart. And that's what the work that we do is so powerful, because when we're working together through an ISTA training, we spend a week taking people on this deep dive into the heart space so we can connect not only emotionally and not only physically and energetically, but at a level of the bigger container, at the spiritual level, whatever you want to call that, at the level of source or consciousness.
So what does it mean to make love with life now that you're a divine being?
Well, so this idea of making love with life, just like with great sex, it's the sense of the connection, right? When you're having great sex, what makes it great, at least in my experience, is that the sense of the separation disappears. Somehow through the process of making love, we drop into a sense of connection, of unity, of something greater than, you know, the sum of our parts, right?
Yeah, we merge, actually. We merge into, I like to look at it like loosening molecules, like they just get loose and then float.
Yeah, so we expand. So that heart space that we go into, now it's doubled because there's two of us, and then those two electromagnetic fields expand. And I think from my experience is that they it's like the Big Bang, right? It explodes.
Right.
And you both disappear into something bigger than yourselves. And that I had that experience happen to me spontaneously in 1988 after I left my marriage, the first lover I had. We were making love one day, and I literally felt my Kundalini wake up, and I just shot out of my body and went into this vast space of, I don't know, you know, I can't really talk about it, but I was just like everything in the universe. And I heard the sound of Om, which I also was. And then at some point I came back in my body, and my lover was still, you know, there inside of me. And I was like, wow. And he's like, yeah, that was good. And I'm like, no, I don't mean the sex. I mean the Kundalini and merging with the universe. And he didn't quite know what I was talking about. So then I was like, oh, that's interesting. How could he not have noticed that? Because for me, it was like everything. So it doesn't always necessarily happen with the person you're with in the same way.
Yes.
But again, it became for me like a question, like, what was that and how did it happen? And I didn't know that the Kundalini had something to do with Tantra. And so about a year later, Margot Anand's book, The Art of Sexual Ecstasy, came out, and some other books came out on Tantra, kind of Neo-Tantra. So that's how I kind of got onto my Tantric path. And I think that part of, in the non-dual Tantra world, the, you know, tradition, we would say desire, which is often kind of vilified in most religions, right? Most religions say desire bad, you know, transcendence.
Right, it's sinful. That's a sin to have desire. Like,
right,
it's something selfish, or right. I don't know, or could lead you to acts of badness or whatever. I'm not religious, so I never was educated like that. But I've dealt with enough people and lovers who felt guilty after we had sex because of desire, blah blah blah.
So in the non-dual Tantra tradition, rather than saying desire bad, desire is recognized as the creative impulse of the universe. So just like at the beginning, before the Big Bang, there was something that created the Big Bang, the source consciousness, whatever we want to call that. And somehow that potential, I like to call it potential, because if you call it anything else, your mind wants to turn it into a thing, and it wasn't a thing. But it was pure potential that created so much energy, that had so much power and energy that it created the Big Bang. And that Big Bang created everything that exists now, and we're part of what that is. We're made out of the same stuff as stars.
So I just want to say that when you call it potential, I love that. It's like for a really long time, I had the analogy of a matchbook. And like a matchbook is just potential. It's a book with matches that have combustion possibility, but they have to be struck to make the fire. And the only thing that would cause the fire is the desire to take one and
Right.
strike. Otherwise, it's just sitting there as potential, nothing happening.
Right. Right. And we also know that if you don't know how to use the potential correctly, so like if you're a 5-year-old kid and you want to figure out how to use, I mean, I remember this when I was a kid, because back books, probably, yeah, for young people today, you may not know what a book of matches is, but in the olden times,
Right.
this was something that kids were fascinated by and they always wanted to play with.
Yeah.
And it wasn't so easy to strike those matches. However, if we don't know how to use the energy properly, we could burn ourselves or catch the house on fire. So it's also, there's power in that.
A lot.
And so we need to, so part of the tantric path is also to learn how to work with our desire in ways that is in service to ourselves, in service to the world, that's creative. And not to make anything bad, because the life cycle of life involves, and I'm going to talk a little bit more about that, involves the journey of creation, maintaining, dissolving. You know, it's a process.
Exactly.
That none of us, you know, even the moralists, I imagine, have, you know, eventually, if not, they don't die, eventually the sun dies. The planet goes dark.
But things do die. I mean, it is a cycle of birth and death, because there's, like, even now in the coronavirus, many things are dying off to us that were our ways of being. So this is a rebirth process for those of us who choose to see it and make love to it, as opposed to resist.
Exactly. So this desire, we can say that there's desire at the macro level, like the desire of consciousness or the divine or the universe. And then there's also the personal desire. So in Tantra, part of our journey is to learn how to connect, so it's kind of clear away some of those obscurations, they usually say, that make us think that our desires are different than the divine's. So as we make ourselves like a clear container, so like when we do those kind of opening, I like to call it the central pleasure channel, but when we do those things to open our central channel and move our sexual energy, which is our life force energy, up through our heart and, you know, connect with the universe, then we have that ability to start to feel that our desire and the desire of the universe are not separate, right? They're expressions. We're more tuned into what I call the true self. So we can really bring that divine desire through. And that's when and I know, because you teach sex magic, and I'm sure people out there who know your show have heard about sex magic.
They have.
That's what sex magic is. We're connecting our desire with the divine, and we're asking for the divine to show us how we can manifest those things in a way that's for our best and highest good, is how I like
Totally.
It's not for our selfish needs or to influence another person. It's like, I want to bring all my gifts. Show me how I can really tune into my divinity and bring that power through for the best and highest good. And this is what, you know, this is my idea of what that might look like. But I also like to always say, this or something better, which I learned from.
Yes, this or something better. You do say that.
Yeah,
I forget to say that, but when I'm with you, I remember, I go, oh yeah, this was something better. Yeah. But I want to just come back and point out that you said not to influence another person.
Yeah.
Because to me, I tell people that's just not going to end up that good. Like, yeah, that's like called casting a spell on someone. And that, like, I leave people alone. I might want people to be attracted to something that I'm doing. And so I create myself as the clearest channel to be shining so they can see my beam. But I'm not going to say, and I want this one and this one and this one to do what I want them to do. Yeah. That's like causing black magic or casting a spell on someone. And that isn't what I hear you saying at all. And I appreciate that you pointed that out. Yeah. Yeah.
And there are some cultures, like in India, even today, some people associate the word Tantra with black magic.
Yes.
That they were associated at one point in time. I would say that was like not in the peak of the tantric culture, but more later when the kind of the true teachings kind of got muddled by egos.
Yes. Yes. Whose phone is doing that ding? Oh, it's mine. Hold on. Ding a ding a ding. I heard a ding a ding a ding. So
yeah, so it's part of this making love with life is attuning our creative life force energy with that of the creation, whatever word you want to use for that.
Right. Okay.
So that we're and it's about being in the flow. When we're feeling that connection, and you can feel it in your life, when you're tuned in, everything's flowing. You're meeting the right people, the right opportunities are opening, you're magnetizing the people to you. It's not because you're trying to manipulate people, but simply by beaming your light, and people who feel attracted to that show up. And so
right.
that's really what I think we teach in ISTA, is how to start to live in that way. And we also teach that in our other work as well.
Yes, that's right. Like, when are you not doing it? We're always doing it.
Yeah, exactly.
And we're living it. And that's the difference between us and some other people who are just talking about it. Like,
exactly.
You're living it, I'm living it. There's no question about that. So give us an example or a tip on how you might do that. Like, there's the coronavirus. Life threw us all a big curveball. Okay, right. Now what?
Well, one of the things I did recently was I was meditating, and I decided I wanted to connect with the actual consciousness of the coronavirus. So I called the coronavirus to come and be with me. Like, I became one with the coronavirus. I made love with the coronavirus, you could say.
Got it.
It wasn't a real sexual experience, but it was definitely a merging of consciousness. And what I found was that this coronavirus, there was nothing about it that felt malevolent. It felt very much like it was trying to communicate and show us how connected we all are. So there's 7.5 billion people on this planet, and the coronavirus is showing us not only are we connected through, Facebook and the internet, but we're connected through our nervous systems, we're connected through our immune systems, we're connected through our monetary systems, through our economies. Like, we're connected on all these levels.
Yeah.
And like one of the things that we've seen when people stop just running around busily doing stuff maybe that's not in their highest good because they feel like they're supposed to, or because they for whatever reason.
Or it could be just a routine or a habit or something rote. Yeah.
But we create a lot of pollution, right? So like the air over China suddenly is clear. The waters of Venice are suddenly clear. I mean, this whole kind of moment of the pausing, as some people are calling it, is showing us that sometimes maybe we're not always coming from our heart. Maybe we're very much in our heads. And I think you see this in a lot of the people in the governments who are all the talking heads in the governments who are trying to figure out what to do. But to me, I want to say, stop, guys. And the only one I've heard good things about is the Prime Minister of New Zealand, who's a woman. She's like 39.
Right.
But most of the other people out there in charge of countries, I feel like I want to say, stop and drop into your heart. And so let's feel what's going to be in the most service to the planet. Let's not just go like, okay, now we're just going to forget about COVID and we're going to go right back to the same old habits. Like, this is an opportunity to transform how we live on this planet. Mm-hmm. So if we're making love with life, then we're also making love with everything on the planet. It's not just making love with people, trees, the waters, the mountains, the air. How are we going to honor and treat the world as our beloved? And that means caring about it, not just about human beings, but about all the species. And how can we live harmoniously on this planet and generate enough abundance for everyone to live, in harmony. I happen to live on Harmony Drive. I picked this house because it was on Harmony Drive. But to me, that's a big part of it. When we're making love with life, we are feeling a sense of harmony, and we're creating harmony. And in the wake behind behind our movements, leave a nice sense of harmony.
Yeah, instead of pollution and everything else.
Yeah. And that doesn't mean that we push away if we're feeling a lot of fear. Like, I was just figuring out my money situation about an hour ago. I was looking at how much money I have and what I have to pay and how much is my monthly expenses, because I normally don't do that much because I usually have plenty of money and it's not that worried about, a few $100s here and there. But all of a sudden, because of COVID, my income just took a big contraction. So I was like,
Everyone's.
yeah.
So
So
it's
I was
very
like,
important.
so I was noticing that I had a little bit of a contraction when I was figuring out, okay. And then I was like, no, but this is fine. I'm just going to figure out a new way to make this the money I need. And this is a new opportunity to do what I've actually been saying I want to do for the last year and a half, which is make more money online. And because of what's happened the last couple of weeks, you and I have both been online, both for the ISTA core gathering and the ISTA first ISTA online festival.
The festival, yep.
And then I just spent the last 2 days doing an online course about learning how to use Zoom more effectively. And I realized I've been saying I wanted to do this, and now the universe is creating opportunity for me to learn how to do it and make money. And I know you just launched an online course.
I did, and it was very successful. And I have another, plus I was in another festival while we were in the ISTA festival. So everything I'm doing is turning into these little squares, like Hollywood squares on TV or whatever they
exactly. So
yeah,
and I think that's an inspiration. Like when you were telling me about your Extraordinary Lovers course that you just launched a couple of days ago, I was like, wow, Laurie's doing it. It's happening. I can do that too. So for those of you out there in this audience listening or watching us, it's also like, rather than getting stuck in the old mindset of what am I going to do? I can't do what I've been used to doing. It's like dropping into your heart and saying, like, what has my soul been longing to do that maybe I haven't had the space or didn't feel like I free enough. And now suddenly you have some space and you have some freedom. And it's really like that sense of dropping in to the spaciousness of what we are. Because from a tantric perspective, we're not, in a non-dual tantric perspective, we're not a body and a mind. We're awareness. We're awareness showing up and experiencing a body and a mind because it's cool. Like, why wouldn't you want to do this? I mean, to be in a formless state has its own qualities, but the human experience is a really unique and powerful experience.
It really is.
And so some people
go back and say what non-dual is again, because that's
okay. So
because a lot of people haven't heard it like that. They've heard of neo-tantra, they've heard of tantra, but when you say non-dual, that's really important. I can say how I learned it, but I want to hear how you learned it.
So non-dual tantra comes from probably the ancient roots of tantra come from a non-dual tantra perspective, probably about 1,500 years ago in Kashmir or that area of northern India.
Yeah.
And most likely probably came from a group of wild women living in the forest, dancing around in the charnel grounds, rolling around and celebrating ecstasy through making love with life. This isn't historically proven, but this is.
No, but that's okay. You have very good instinct.
And so the understanding of that was that there's no separation. So like a lot of people who come into Tantra nowadays come from yoga. And so they may have been introduced to Patanjali's Yoga Sutras. But that tradition actually is a dualistic yoga tradition, which says transcendence, good, body, bad.
Right.
So in the whole time when you're doing yoga practice, it's to transcend the body. Tantra doesn't say that. Non-dual tantra, which is the root of all tantra, of all tantra and all yoga, says it's all the one. There's no separation. The body is just as sacred. The body and the mind and the emotions and everything on the planet is just as sacred as the transcendent, whatever you want to think of as the goddess.
Or the descendants as well. Let me say how I learned it. I'll just share with you, like I came in to Tantra thinking about good and bad, right and wrong, opposites, polar opposites. And what I learned was everything is just what is. So for me, I came in like with a lot of anger, which I was always making wrong. And when I was taught that nothing is wrong and nothing is right, like it just all is, I stopped feeling ashamed of a feeling that I had, which was a predominant feeling. When I stopped shaming it and I could embrace it as part of the all of me, oh, it was so powerful. And then I could just deal with it. Like anything else, like if I had a pimple, or if I, if I ripped my dress or whatever, it was just like, oh, this is a thing to deal with, and it isn't wrong. It just is. I could, put my arms around it. So I learned it on that level, and it was very, very practical for me in order to embrace who I was and who I am.
Yeah, so I would say one of the things about that is to first recognize, and you can actually do that. It's not that, sometimes people want to make it really philosophical, but it's very practical. If you're aware of something in your body, that's arising, it's arising because you're aware of it. If you couldn't feel it, you weren't experiencing the sensation, it wouldn't be existing for you.
Right.
And that's the same thing with the emotions. It's the same thing with thoughts. It's the same thing with beliefs. If you're kind of doing shamanic work, so one way, like even things about space and time and location, because I found that actually I think location, when you can learn to let go of this idea that I exist in this body mind in a location, which is how most of us have been trained all our lives.
Mm-hmm.
And we've been taught to have an identity and a name and a place and who I am, and my body looks like this, and I'm this old, and I do these, this is my career,
right.
This is my, peak in my career, this tells you everything I've ever done. CV, that's what I was looking for.
Right. Oh,
so,
yeah.
So if you can start to let that stuff go, then you feel that you're not limited by all those titles and all those ideas of location. And shamanically, that's one thing you learn. You certainly learn you can travel back to the time of the pyramids, right? You can travel across the universe. You can experience being a bear or a dolphin or a star or, a black hole.
And you don't have to take LSD.
No, you don't have to do any of that. And you're able to transcend all the things that seem impossible if you're just thinking everything has to be in this physical form.
Exactly.
So shamanism teaches us that. And then we can even move beyond that, because that's still happening sort of in the subtle realms, the energetic realms. And then we can move into that place. It's kind of like the beyond, the gate, which you've talked about.
Well, I made a dinner. I named a dinner that. Gate dinner. Yeah.
So the gate is the beyond, the beyond. So basically the beyond is something that a mind can't grasp, because while we're in this human form, we're still, if we want to try to put words on something, we have to filter it through our mind. And language in and of itself always creates a sense of separation.
It's limiting.
So that's why the mantra, like gate is a mantra, is taking us beyond the mind, beyond our ideas of who and what we are.
Right.
And so then we can expand even beyond anything we can imagine and start to recognize, like, oh, I'm not just a person who's creating things. I'm the divine that created everything. And we can start to expand how we understand who we are, how we relate to life. And then it's kind of like this ability to, I just learned a new term the other day on this course I took the last 2 days, pivot, don't panic. We can learn to just pivot, right? We're in the flow.
That's great.
I like calling it surfing on the edge. We surf our edges versus starting to panic and feeling like a rug's been pulled out from under us.
Pivot, and that's a very major term in tango dancing. The Spanish-speaking tango teachers say pivot, and that means pivot, And when I was at Landmark, we used to say turn on a dime, or stop, change, start. Stop, change, start.
Yeah.
Go. So Crystal Dawn, is there anything you want to leave people with to take a first step on this journey, something like that? That would get them into something we call non-ordinary reality. You call it NOR.
Well, I'd like to take them through a little guided meditation. Can we do that? Is that okay?
We can. Yeah, we can.
Because it just takes a couple minutes.
Okay, great.
So I call it the guidance to awakening the true self.
Okay.
So, but if you're in a vehicle and you're driving, please don't do this. Wait till you get home. Then you can listen, rewind and listen.
Okay.
But it's like starting out with your eyes open. You can just notice when we're in the world of form, that we've developed these habits of grasping and aversion. So the first thing is just to notice we have these habits. When we see something we like, we want to hold on to it. When we see something we don't like, we want to push it away. And that creates this constant kind of attachment to outcome that causes us to be uncomfortable. It's sometimes happy, it's sometimes, but when the thing that made us happy goes away, we get unhappy. So first we just want to notice this habit. So simply notice the habit of grasping and aversion. And then closing your eyes, you want to go inward. And it, like, imagine just dropping your attention down to the base of the heart chakra. It's right in the center of your chest, just around where the xiphoid process, right over your breastbone ends. Dropping your attention in there and looking inward and bringing the focus of attention inward to that heart we talked about at the beginning of the call, that it's got that really big electromagnetic field and that's pulsing there. And notice what's always already there. That's the place we could call presence. You know, whatever is arising in our consciousness is arising in this present moment awareness. And this present moment awareness also tends to be identified with a location, and that location we call our body or our mind. So we often think of the I am as my body or mind. So notice that when we're attached to being in a location, we limit our experience. So if you find a way that works for you to cut your attachment to that location, just for the moment, knowing you can always come back to this sense of body-mind, and see, once you kind of free yourself from that attachment, allow that present moment awareness to expand and become infinite awareness. It's almost like the Big Bang, expanding out in all directions. And notice that this infinite awareness naturally radiates with what we might call timeless bliss. There's like a subtle vibration that you might experience depending on your level of kind of subtle awareness. You may experience even as a somewhat sexual energy, or it might just feel like a spaciousness. It might feel like a sense of grace or ease. So just see if you can tap into that sense of timeless bliss. And take a breath. Just let your body relax. Don't try too hard. Just see what's there. See if you can find that subtle little vibration. If you can allow yourself to expand and relax into that timeless bliss, whatever that might be for you in this moment. And then notice that even when we experience that, there's something beyond, that's beyond even this infinite, spacious awareness that has the quality of timeless bliss. The gate gate, paragate, parasamgate, soha. That which is beyond the mind, beyond form, beyond time and space. And just allow yourself to rest there for a moment, feeling that actually I am this. And then taking a breath. And slowly calling yourself back into that heart center. If you want, you can bring yourself back into that sense of body, mind. When you're ready, you can open your eyes. And as you open your eyes, wow, guess what? I am this, and then this I am. This that you're seeing, this that you're experiencing when you open your eyes, guess who's creating that? You are. The divine, the awareness that you are. And that is called, there's a teaching in non-dual tantra called the 5 acts of God. So we'll end on the 5 acts of God, which is the first one being birth. So of course, that's why I had to become a midwife, because I needed to learn that lesson apparently. And also my name's Crystal Dawn, the birth of the day. So there's the birth or the creating, the willing. When we want to create something, we have this sense of, I really feel called. There's a willingness to want to do it. There's a creative life force energy that wants to spring out. So we're giving birth to something new. And then there's the maintaining, the nourishing, the nurturing. If once we create a new business or a new concept or a new, we have to nourish it and nurture it and keep it thriving. And then there's the dissolving, the dissolution, the dying away, the releasing what no longer serves us. And that creates this life cycle. So creating, maintaining, dissolving. In the Hindu tradition, you have the different gods. You have the gods of
you have Vishnu, Brahma, Shiva, and Brahma.
Yeah.
Shiva's the destroyer. He's the dissolution.
Right.
Let's see.
I think it's Brahma is the creator, and then Vishnu is the maintainer. Yeah, and Shiva's the destroyer.
Shiva destroys everything. Boom.
Right. So that's considered part of our life cycle. And then the last two acts are, is that which I'm creating, maintaining, and dissolving, creating more separation? Is it causing me to feel alienated? Is it causing me to feel separate? Is it causing me to suffer? Is it causing me to feel like I don't belong here? Or is what I'm creating, maintaining, and dissolving causing me to feel more connected to the divine, connected to my true self, connected to my beloved, connected to my community? Is it in service? Am I making love with life, or am I like running off to my room and pouting because nobody loves me?
Got it. Really good stuff.
Yeah, so every moment is an opportunity, because this is really going on every breath. Every breath is that we inhale, we exhale. We're creating, maintaining, and destroying. Literally, the breath is one of the most powerful ways we clear our body of toxins. So literally, every time we breathe, we're creating a new environment for ourselves and breathing out what no longer serves us to maintain a healthy body. That's why breath work can be so powerful.
And what you're pointing to also is no fear. People do not have to fear dissolution. People do not have to fear the dissolving or the destruction. That's a natural part of everything, breaking it down. So really good.
And when things die, it creates space for new things to be born. Just like we've learned, like in that the ISTA Online Festival we did. I mean, I had such a different, and I've been working, I think both of us have been working on Zoom for quite a few years.
Yeah.
So it wasn't like I'd never done it, but I had never done it in this way where we're really having a global experience with over thousands of people.
Right.
Worldwide. And I was like, oh my God, there is a lot of power here. And this is I knew it, but I was kind of afraid to actually, I didn't have enough impetus to actually do it. I didn't have the will. I would do it when I felt called, but I didn't know I could take it to that kind of level. And now COVID.
We had the whole world in our hands, as the song goes. We had the entire world in our hands, like from every part of the globe at some point or other. We really, really did. Now I need to ask you to give us information how people can reach you.
So I have a new Facebook page that I just got my little, whatever they call that. It's at Crystal D. Morris. So that's my new Facebook page. That's probably the best place to go, because that's where I'm going to be posting a lot of new free things I'm going to be offering. And I have an ebook coming out very soon. That's not the Making Love with Life, but it's a collection of articles about tantra that I've written over the past 15 years.
Great. So
that's going to be out in the next few weeks. I'm editing it. I'm just doing my final edits right now.
Wonderful.
And then I have tantraversity.com, which is my new online school. It's not that new, a couple of years old, online school. And I have a course there called the CLAIM course, Claim Love and Freedom Now. And that is, CLAIM stands for Conscious Love and Intimacy Mentoring, with me as your mentor. So that takes people on a whole journey through videos. It's about 7.5 hours. And then I also am working on some new online courses.
And they can always find you at, ISTA International, ISTA.life.
ISTA.life. And you can also just Google Crystal Dawn Morris and put Tantra in there. You'll find, I'm easy to find.
That's great.
That's
wonderful.
Thank you. I really want to appreciate you, Laurie. I appreciate that you have this show, which is really cool.
Thank
and
you.
that you invited me on today. And my plan is, I've just got a new impetus because of everything we've been on up to the last few weeks to really get on writing my Making Love with Life book. So that will be out probably a year or so, but hopefully I've been working on it for a few years, so I'm gonna get it
It done. That's all. You got, listen, I don't want to say get nothing else to do, because in this pandemic, we've had plenty to do,
Yes.
but make this a priority, this creation a priority. It's really important. It's great stuff, really great stuff.
Yeah. And I think I want to put a plug in here for the Sex Shaman book, because you and I both have chapters in that book.
Oh yeah, wait a minute, I can hold that up.
Yeah, so we just did
We
a
are
launch.
both in this book,
Yeah.
Sex Shamans. You can get it on Amazon, and we both have great, juicy chapters. Oh, I knocked my computer down. We both have great, juicy chapters in that book. Thank you.
So if you want to read something written by Laurie or I right now that tells a little bit about who we are and how we got on this path, that's a great book.
It is a great way. Well, everybody, I want to thank you for coming on today and being my listeners or my viewers. Crystal Dawn, I love you, and I thank you for being on my show today.
Thank you,
hopefully we'll be able to see each other in person soon. And everybody, please tune in next time when I will have a guest who will talk to us about rapid transformation, like what her life was like before she did ISTA and what she's like now, because she is an amazing, I can't give her name yet, but she's an amazing human being. Crystal and I both know her, and she is going to come on and just like talk about the transformative journey and what it could be like for somebody, because I'm of the school of instant transformation. I don't think people have to work on things forever. I think they can just shift if they come in, if they put themselves in the right circumstances. So that's why she's coming on. So tune in next time. This is Laurie Handlers and Crystal Dawn. We're both going to say namaste.
Namaste.
To you, and thank you for coming on to Sex and Happiness.